Get ready for an uplifting experience with Coached Soul. Join us as we bring you the dynamic duo of Steve Hudgens, a licensed professional counselor, and Kenya Evelyn, a transformational leadership coach. Together, they'll guide you through engaging episodes filled with valuable insights and actionable tips on mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Coached Soul is your go-to podcast for empowering discussions that will help you thrive. So let's get started and welcome our hosts, Steve and Kenya.
Hello, and I'm so excited to be here with our Coached Soul community and Steve.
Hello.
We're back. Kenya here. Hi, hun. Okay, so last time we talked about forgiveness, and I thought it was so deep, very fast, and I just want to have a second part to integrate the principles that we laid it out, almost like a treasure hunt. Oh, you step in here, you breathe, you step in there, you make a decision, you step right, and it actually opens up into the world. So Steve, what do you think it's easier to not forget, somebody that you have a relationship with, that you see it on a regular basis, whether it's your spouse, your friend, your mother, or a stranger?
You know, that's a good question. And it's how do I live an authentic self is where I present this. Because sometimes in the therapy world and what I deal with, it comes across as it's easier to forgive someone outside of my loved one. Outside of that, I know for me, it's easier to forgive someone who has done me wrong. Now,
Right.
how long does it take me to do that? It depends. The key for me in forgiveness has always been about processing, not
Correct.
shove my feeling, but to accept the feeling, embrace the feeling where I'm at. I mean, yes, it's been a challenging to forgive. Um, you know, my parents, for example, it was difficult.
Sure.
It took me 12, 13 years to try to figure this out, and becoming a therapist, it helped me to look at the gamut of how did I get here?
Did you
But
even
ultimately,
know that was a need for forgiveness in growing up?
not really, because here's the why. As kids, what are we told? Say
That's
you're
right.
sorry, apologize right
Mhm.
now. And it's like, do
You
we
said it.
really, as a kid, hearing our parents say apologize right now, do
So
we
true.
really? And when I was a director at Shadow Mountain, I was working with intensive treatment services and
Mhm.
working with children of the state. And you know, one of the kids kind of did something that kind of hurt. And at the same time, I just kind of let it go, meaning that some good wisdom came down that when somebody knows they did wrong, they don't want to ask for forgiveness. They don't want to apologize because it's a power control struggle for them.
Right.
Because if I submit to you and say I apologize, that means you're free to do whatever to me. And in her world, it was if she forgave, people would hurt her more.
So it was a way to protect. Is that what I hear you saying?
That's what I'm
A way
saying.
to keep that protection.
Right.
Hmm. So where are you at right now on the spectrum of not just in your personal life, but with the clients and patients that come to you? How do you guide them to the process of forgiveness? Is there such thing as guiding someone to the process of forgiveness?
Well, what's that old saying? You lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Right. Guidance is the same thing. I mean, here's the thing that we have forgotten is that the older generation should be teaching the younger generation.
Ooh, so good. Come on now.
You know, and part of this, it's learning about how do we forgive, how do we work
Mhm.
through our problems. unfortunately, we become a society that I call consumerism society.
Mm,
We are not loyal. The
mm.
slightest little hurt, I walk away, throw
You
away my
ghost.
marriage,
Yeah.
throw away my
Mm-hmm.
relationship, throw away
Mm-hmm.
kids. I mean, it's
Mm.
unfortunate that we live in this type of world that no wonder we're so built up on anxiety, anger, frustration, because there's not an ability to be able to know how to forgive or
So
what that,
what I hear you saying is a process of connection and disconnection. Because
yes,
what if what if it would keep the ancestry codes alive of the oldest is seen as a treasure and wise that
mm,
you learn under. That is how some of the cultures still functioning these days. To have an elder in your home is to have a treasure.
right.
It's to have a fount of wisdom. And I'm gonna agree with you as a mama of kiddos and teenagers that they don't want to be guided. Like they really don't. They know everything. I know everything. Actually, I actually remember too knowing everything when I was a teen, to be honest, just leaving it out there. At the same time, as parents and as guides, we get to keep believing that our role is to guide,
Right.
continue to guide, continue to forgive. Not just forgive, but continue to believe that the guidance, that God's guidance through me to you is alive. Also, when you say you can guide your clients, your people to the path of forgiveness, where do you see that they get stuck? Let's paint our listeners a picture of how can they see themselves in a way that will create more flow in their path of love, acceptance, forgiveness.
A lot of it has to learn how to love yourself. I mean, that's where I start. When I have a client who has difficulty in forgiving a spouse that did them wrong, it's about, are we loving ourselves, or do we
Mm,
hold on to this to self-sabotage to say, yep, I deserve what I deserve. I need to keep
mm,
deserving what I got. And so when I try to work with my clients, I work with identity. Who
mm-hmm.
are you?
Correct.
Let's take
Oh,
away that, Kenya, you're a mom, you're a transformational coach, that you are a wife, you're a daughter,
sure,
let's take the man-made labels away and get
sure.
down to identifying who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And can you look into the emotional mirror and be okay with what you see?
Mm.
If we're not okay with what we're seeing, that means there's something we haven't let go. We're still
Correct.
holding on to something. And so it's walking through that
Can you give
process.
us examples?
For me, it was dealing with the treatment of my parents,
Okay.
because I would ask my aunt, who is my father's second oldest sister, because she didn't get married until she was 45. Her and her husband were first time married couple to each other and met in college, and it's a great love story. For 20 years later, he proposed, she didn't. 20 years later, he did it again, she said yes. What a great story, right? But I've asked her, what is it about? And the key factor, that the moment that I realized about loving and to forgive, is learning the difference between acceptance and expectation. For me, I
So
needed
good.
that
Mm-hmm.
love. I expected to be loved in the way I needed to be loved, that I wanted to be loved. And when I realized that's not possible, I let go and forgave whatever mishaps that was happening, because now I have a better understanding as to what happened to me.
Mhm.
And so forgiveness can be there. And so I just accept my parents to be where they are. I love them.
Mhm.
There
Of
is no
course.
ill will, there is no hardship against them. And so that frees me up to be what? Lovable, forgiving,
Free.
right?
Yes.
And so when it comes down to relationships, what is God? God is a spirit that wants us to be able to be reconciled. That's why he sent his son Christ, right? And so he wants us to have a reconciliation, because it talks about how we are to reconcile with one another. Now, granted, we're going to have our days that we're not going to be able to reconcile. Okay. But it's my own peace of mind to say, you know what? This hardship hurt me. It's hard for me to rebuild this trust. I'm going to part my way. It doesn't mean that I choose to ignore you. It
Correct.
means that I can work with you in acknowledgement of, hey, I see you. I do have my what I call threshold. I'm changing the lingo to threshold instead of boundaries, because it's what we are allowing in and out on a day-to-day basis. What may be
Mhm.
one day may be different another way. But my threshold for forgiveness is, do I deserve to treat myself in such a way that they treated me?
So good. So, so good. Well, what I hear you saying is something very basic for the foundation of our well-being,
Mhm.
which is I know you cannot love me or meet me in any other way but the energetic match of the one that I see in the mirror. So if I allow that thing to remain in my field, in my mind, in my spirit, I will, by energy alone, I will keep recreating the same thing.
Right.
And it could be marrying the same type of person over and over and over again. It could be feeling rejected over and over and over and over by, I don't know, somebody misinterpreted my coffee of order and gave to three people before they gave it to me. So now I'm feeling rejected here because my coffee didn't come first and I was here first. You know what I'm saying? Like you keep recreating that energy that is like, what's going on with me? Notice the language. Some people would even say, what's wrong with me? And I'm here to say, dear listeners, you're perfect. Nothing's wrong with you. I promise, I pinky double pinky promise that nothing is wrong with you, but what we get used to, we have more of. What we
Let me,
identify with, we recreate more.
I'm glad you said that, because that's where I was going a little deeper on this, right?
Mhm.
It's that, okay, somebody made our coffee wrong. Does that deserve a response of hatred back to that person, of how calling them an idiot? Couldn't you see this is what
Right?
my order
Right?
was?
100%.
But
Yes.
what that reaction to that behavior stems from, what I call a muscle memory of your past.
100%. It's always trauma trigger, trauma trigger, trauma
Right.
trigger.
When somebody is able to work through their trauma and recognize that I am no longer giving the power away to other people to control or manage my behavior, to be
Correct.
confident in who I am, to be vulnerable, there's nothing to hide, to be open and honest about things, then I can be able to say, you know what? I'm sorry. I went
Mhm.
and got my car checked out today, get oil changed, tire, the regular maintenance.
Yes. Yeah.
Cars need maintenance because of the wear and tear.
Mm.
And I said, are you still honoring military veterans? And they said, no, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
My immediate thought went to, well, I guess I ain't coming back here no more.
Right?
That was my immediate thought. but he
I
carried
see
on,
you. Mhm.
right? But he
Mhm.
carried on and says, I appreciate your service that I went ahead and found a coupon and gave you a discount anyways.
Aw.
And so I said, I
Wow. He didn't need it
appreciate
to do
that.
that.
He didn't
Wow.
have to do that. Right. But if I would have said that out loud, that would
Mm.
have degraded that situation so quickly, so fast that
Correct.
he wanted to out of his own
Oof.
kindness and gesture.
So good.
So it's about learning how to manage the mind to be able to recognize, ooh, I could have been, entitled, well, I deserve a military discount. I gave you the freedom that you stand on right now. I mean, I could be that,
That
but
person.
right.
Mhm.
But that's not who I am as a person. And I thanked him. I shook his hand and I said, you have a great weekend.
Mhm.
It's the service that brings me back, not the discount. It's
Correct.
the
It's the
service,
connection.
it's
Is
connection.
is the connection, is the human connection,
Right.
is the I see you, you see me. In the end of the day, we're all going back home. We are one. We are one.
Right.
And I want to offer our listeners here a different perspective on what if forgiveness is like the motherboard. What if it's the
Mm.
motherboard of abundance? Everybody talks about abundance. If is abundance is money, abundance is, abundance in health, abundance in relationship. Yeah, I get it. But usually the word abundance is connected with money. And what I have noticed in my life, through my practice, in my personal life, is that when I stand for forgiveness, it's not logical.
You sound like Mr.
It's not
Spock in Star Trek. It's not
it
logical.
it's not logical. It is a heart opener decision, that the decision itself might be logical, like I want to forgive.
Mhm.
It's not about he deserves it, all those rational voices, no. I surrender the how. I'll repeat that again. I surrender the how. I have no freaking idea how. Because the deeper the pain, the deeper is the undeservingness. And you cannot make sense with your logical mind. It has to come from the heart of freedom, the heart of, oof, I want my kids to experience a mother that's happy. I want to experience myself happy. I want, right? It's like, what do
Right.
you really want? And those wanting are all emotions. I want happiness. I want joy. I want fun. I want peace. I want,
Mhm.
what is the thing? And forgiveness is the cluster that keeps all those want shovel down. It
I
does
want to
not
kind of put a
allow to
spin on
open up.
something here.
Sure.
We get about 7 or 8 minutes or something like that left. And one of the things that I want to spin is the fact that forgiveness in marriage,
Yes.
it's been since 2017, since the last spouse I was married to left. And so there is no forgiveness. I mean, there is no forgiveness. There is forgiveness. Sorry.
Yes, that's
There
okay.
is forgiveness, right? And
Yes.
so when I think about the situation, I can still hold on to that
Yeah.
and say, well,
You
I'm
can
done
still be in
dating,
unforgiveness. Your subconscious mind is like, unforgiveness.
right? I can act as, you know what, all women are the same. I don't want to date anymore because no,
Anything to do with it. Yeah.
and forgiveness is about letting go of the hardness of the hardening of the heart. So when I think about the spin on the marriage is that a lot of times we hear, well, you're not supposed to divorce. You're in church. You're not supposed to divorce. You're supposed to stay and forgive that person that did you the wrong. I'm going to tell you right now, if that person's able to change and make the changes, okay. But I don't agree with being able to stay somewhere where you what we call is called trauma bonding. And that's a whole new different segment that we can get ourselves into. It's not about forgiving and staying and doing and getting hurt. That's not forgiveness. Common sense is there to look at, how do I forgive my spouse that's done me wrong? Cheating is hard because do I trust this person again, or do I walk
Mm.
away? Do I have an understanding? I mean, the couple, the situation, the last podcast we talked about, I had a couple that I was working with, and he had an emotional affair, and we talked in the progress of what things went down. It's not a quick decision to say, oh, I want to have sex with that other person or having an affair. It is a melting, slow melting pot that becomes to a boil.
Correct.
It's like throwing eggs in cold water, put it on the stove, and you start. It takes about 5-10 minutes for what? For the hot water to start boiling again.
Correct.
That's when it starts. But do we, here's the thing to consider. Do we throw away a marriage, a relationship that's gone on for years that has positivity in it and maybe one or two negatives in it over the lifetime of a relationship?
Well, if this is a question, the answer is very simple. No, this is why I'm married for 19 years. Because in the end of the day, there's so much more than the human things that allow us to grow together. So for me, it's not about throwing away. It's about, I'm here to choose. Listeners, you came here with the power of choice. Nobody's doing something to you. You're not a poor baby, okay? And you're extremely special. You're worthy. You are the creator with God, and your oneness with Him. I believe, and I'll say that till Jesus come. And your life is for you.
Right.
Every place you have been is for you. It became who you are, and you are beautiful. With that said, when there is need for forgiveness, and can we just drop a little bit the cheating, the betrayal, because betrayal can come in so many different ways, right?
So
Like
totally
he
agree.
said he would do this, and I've been waiting for years. I cannot be the only one in this team, because I've been waiting for years for XYZ, and that was my story, right? But in order to be merry and happy, I had to drop that story that I was waiting for him and he didn't show up for me. I had to forgive the version of me that was attached to this. I had to let that version of me go so I could be present with this husband here. It's a very different husband than 10 years ago, just like I am a different wife. So the real reason here is that forgiveness, in my opinion, calls us to up-level our state of being. It calls us to be not even a bigger, a higher person. It's like, okay, what do you want? Do you want more of the same, or do you actually want something new? As long as you're copying and pasting and recycling from the past, congratulations, you know the end of the story. It's going to be exactly the same. If you actually want a new relationship, you've got to show up different. I don't care who's right, who's wrong. This is not a party of I am right and he's wrong. Either we are functioning as a team, as a couple, interconnected, creating a family, or we are not. And if we are not, we are a ticking bomb that eventually you will show up in my practice, or in Steve's practice, or in someone else's practice. If you're not function as a couple, you are a ticking bomb. So wake up for what you're creating. Is that avoidance because you're so, I don't know what to do? Well, I don't know what to do. And we are so easy to say that. I know I was. I don't know what to do. So you just kind of do the same thing. Well, it turns out that when you raise your hand and say, okay, God, here I am, show me,
Right.
open my heart, massage my heart.
To put this all back into
Where to go.
perspective, and as we close, one of the things that we kind of talked about is the couple that I was working with, right? To
Yes.
the fact that he had the emotional cheating, and she had such a hard, difficult time in dealing with this of, well, she wants to know why. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And it was self-loathing herself that I was catching this. And so what was happening, what I found was interesting. This wasn't the first time this showed up in her life.
Of course not.
She was 8 years old when mother cheated on her father and caused such disparity. And so what I want to say about forgiveness is, it's not about being able to forgive that other person that did you wrong. It's practicing self-love for yourself. To say, I'm not going to hold on to the anger. I'm not going to hold on to the fear. I am who I am because he made me who I am. And so when I think about forgiveness, it's learning to practice love on me first so that I can love those around me. I may not like the behavior. I still love the person.
Correct.
It's about loving the person and not agreeing with the behavior, but the forgiveness is there. But it doesn't mean that we continue to allow that person to continue walking all over us. That's why we have, yeah.
And celebrate every step.
Yes.
Please celebrate every step. There is no completion of it. There's the next layer, just like a computer game that gets unveiled, the next level and the next level. Celebrate the decision to forgive. Celebrate the decision to love yourself in such worthiness that you show up in your energy, demanding, in your energy, not in your words, I demand, demanding presence. Because I am fully present, I'm offering that fully presence. We are here to co-create something new. Because I am in this moment, I'm allowing the past to go.
Right.
So you invite others in your life to be in this moment with you and actually give it a chance, give this moment a chance versus recycling what it has always been.
It's about freedom. It's just freeing yourself to be able to be free. And I don't know about you, but I much rather, walk through some bluebonnets in a field. Bluebonnets because, I grew up in Texas and bluebonnets are everywhere. They're a beautiful flower. Or do I want to choose to go through a thicket of stickly burrs is what we call them, and those things hurt. So be mindful of that. Until next time, have a great week and God bless.
Thank you. I love you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Coached Soul, where we aim to empower and uplift you on your journey towards personal growth and well-being. Remember, as you navigate through life, you don't have to do it alone. We encourage you to reach out to professionals, seek support from loved ones, and take the time to prioritize your own well-being. Stay tuned for future episodes filled with even more valuable insights and actionable tips. Remember, you have the power to thrive. And with Coached Soul by your side, anything is possible. Until next time, take care, stay empowered, and keep shining your brightest light.